guy down.
Wait till I get closer.
Hey parents, Carmine here with your video review of Battlefield Hardline.
Yeah, I've done this before.
To call Battlefield Hardline a Battlefield game with a cops and robbers paint job is accurate but unfair. Hardline is a step in the right direction for shooters. It attempts to do something new and innovative with its theme and narrative, even if that attempt is fairly timid. If you enjoy Battlefield's infantry and light vehicle combat, you'll feel right at home in the small to medium-sized maps and its heavy focus on fast-paced, close-quarters infantry combat. It won't give you a realistic experience of either side of the law, but the high-level concept is definitely solid.
Okay.
Violence is the most prominent factor in this game, but it's fairly standard for a first-person shooter of this type. Hits will result in some blood, but it's only really visible up close. The optics on weapons can often obscure blood completely in multiplayer. Blood from firearms in the single player is slightly more noticeable, mostly due to the generally slower nature of the combat and the closer proximity of the players to its targets, but even this isn't particularly bad. There's never any gore in this game. The player can use melee weapons to take down enemies, but these don't result in any noticeable blood. There may be blood when the player hits an enemy normally with a bat or other weapon, but if there is, I lost it in the extremely close proximity. The animated melee moves, specifically the ones where the criminal is arrested, which happens all the time in single player, result in no blood at all. While the animations for multiplayer vary slightly from those in single player, there is no blood present in these either. There are a few gadgets and grenade types that increase the amount of violence very slightly. The player can throw grenades and molotovs, but enemies don't light on fire and it leaves no visible mark on their body. The taser is a slightly different can of worms. While it is very rare to see any player make use of it in multiplayer, I frequently relied on it during the single player campaign. Not only is it a one-hit knockout, but it's also considered a non-violent takedown, which the game highly encourages through its point-based progression system. The game encourages non-lethal takedowns by awarding points that can unlock different weapons in the single-player campaign. Lethal takedowns and kills do not result in any points, which makes the taser all the more valuable.
Must be something worth protecting back there.
Narcotics and mature language vary slightly in prominence between the single-player and multiplayer, but overall they have obvious similarities. The theme of the game involves cartel-like gangs getting involved with dirty cops and waging an all-out war with the local law enforcement. As a result, it shouldn't be a surprise that drugs have a presence in this game. While the player will never see anyone use drugs, both cocaine and marijuana are present in the single-player and multiplayer. In the multiplayer, these drugs are just part of the scenery, offering little more than context for the rest of the environment. In the single-player, they're a bit more obvious. Characters discuss drugs on a regular basis, and even a huge pallet of cocaine is visible on one cutscene. But like I said, no one ever uses drugs, they're just present to add to the Vice Cop theme.
Holy shit!
While mild language occasionally came up in previous Battlefield titles, it is far more noticeable in both the single-player and multiplayer of Hardline. While I would expect this of the single-player, considering its focus on corruption in law enforcement and drug-peddling criminals, this was especially striking in multiplayer. The multiplayer criminals have a tendency to throw around four-letter words in ways that seem fairly obvious as I was running around. These phrases were much less of an issue while I was driving in vehicles, but anytime I spotted an enemy or engaged in combat, my character would usually swear.
Man, we're fucked!
Wait, where's the kid? No idea. Looks like he split. I want my laptop.
The narcotics and language use were definitely more noticeable than in previous Battlefield titles, but because no one has ever seen using narcotics, neither were enough to significantly impact the overall content. As a result, we gave this game a recommended age of 14 years old. For the full written review, including the extra categories, log on to SideStoryGames.com.